Very good. So before we move on, since we have a lot of wonderful activities around, just a little bit of housekeeping rules so that we know what's really happening and what are the various different uh, facilities that we have around. So we have the restroom just on the left-hand side, and we have a nice bookstall requesting you all after the session to please pick up your favorite book. And believe me, I bet after the session, the most favorite book of yours will be, any guesses? Hari bol, Jaho, Jaho, Jaho Srila Prabhupada ki. Very good. Of course, since we have assembled over here, I'm sure you must have read the topic, less strain and more gain. Before we move on to get the penetration of the content of this particular workshop, I would request you all to please dissolve a big barrier that we have between you and us, or you and me, or of course it's going to be you and Maharaj. You know what is going to be the barrier? Mobile. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Haribol. Can we have a big round of applause for Prabhuji? Very good, absolutely correct. And hence requesting you all to please, it's a humble request, I know. His Grace Gaur Gopal Prabhu mentions, you can do upvas of various different ways, but the biggest upvas that we have got in today's world, in this generation, is to get away from your mobile phones. Just be sure, just try to do this austerity for a day. 24 hours, no mobile phone. I understand. I relate to you, I connect to you, because I am also the same person who cannot live without mobile. But I'll definitely try, at least for this particular session, which is, as I mentioned, going to be a life-changing session. And hence, please remove your mobile, everybody, and please put it on silent, or please put it, or maybe you can switch it off, so you can be detached completely, and you'll be able to focus on this particular session. Are you all agree? Yes? Super. Say Haribol. Jaho, Jaho. Very good. APEC has organized a very special prasadam. So please make sure you attend the whole session so you can get a sumptuous prasadam, sumptuous lunch before you leave. Plus, we have also organized a very special gift for all of us, each one who is going to attend this session, and hence requesting you all to please do not leave this wonderful room without your gift. In case if you really want to know more about the gift, or if you want to leave a little early, please contact His Grace Ranchod Krishna Prabhu, who is glittering in his maroon jacket. Can you see? Can you raise your hand, Ranchod Krishna Prabhu? Fantastic. Superb. So, are we all ready? Yes. So before we move on, just to create the excitement, we have our very special Vaishnavi. Her name is Kirti. She is going to come and perform a Bharatanatyam dance. Are we all ready? Yes. So please encourage her with your wonderful round of applause. Come on.
I love her, sir. I love her. Kirti?
Yeah, ready, we are ready.
बोलने के टाइम वो साइड में जाके इधर फोकस करिए ताकि I can see. Okay. Just in my. Can you come this side? This mic should be away from this area. Okay. I'll go there. I'll go. complete. Now the program is complete. Give your presence.
Thank you very, very much. A big round of applause for Kirti and our very special, cute Kanhaiya, Radha Krupa. Can we have a big round of applause for both of them? So, are we all excited?
Yes.
Very good. And I'm sure during this session, you will be definitely having a lot of questions. So, requesting you humbly to, if you can kindly keep your questions on the post-it notes, which we have on your tables. We also have some pencils, make use of them. And at the end, if you have any kind of inquisitiveness and on any topic, requesting you all to please humbly ask questions, because we understand it's so important for us to clarify all our doubts before we leave this particular wonderful workshop. Do you all agree? Very, very good. So, without further ado, I would request His Grace Ranchod Krishna Prabhu to please kindly come forward and introduce His Holiness Swami Bhagavan Keshava Swami Maharaj. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Can we have a big round of applause for His Grace Ranchod Krishna Prabhu?
Very good morning to all the assembled August assembly here. And I stand before you with a very mixed feelings, because to introduce somebody like Maharaj is a matter of, first of all, a great happiness and joy. And at the same time, I am very much humbled also for this opportunity. So, His Holiness has been in UK since he was born and brought up in UK. And he completed his studies in UK from University College of London, BSc in Information Management. And after that, Maharaj got attracted towards spirituality. This is something which we have, all of us inside us. It's just a matter of time that it manifests. So then, Maharaj is a community mentor, worldwide traveler, and life coach. Words won't serve here, because we are going to experience this now from Maharaj about his mentorship and life coach qualities. Maharaj has been on this spiritual journey for past 20 years. So one thing I have read and understood, that in our life, consistency is something which is very rare. We do start our pursuit, but how much of years we are able to continue that? You see from life of Maharaj, past 20 years, relentless pursuit of spiritual journey, which we learn so much. And Maharaj is based in UK headquarters of Bhaktivedanta Manor. We request you, when you go there in UK, please try to visit this wonderful, wonderful place. This was actually from the times of Srila Prabhupada, when George Harrison, all of us know him, and all of us know Srila Prabhupada, the messenger of love of Godhead, he has spread throughout the world. So he donated this huge mansion, and this is now converted into a very big temple. And from there, lots of projects are going on, and Maharaj is leading the school of Bhakti there. It was actually initiated and led by Maharaj, and also Maharaj is author of more than 10 books, and we have all of them here. You can personally come in and get your copy. Just to name a few of the books, Maharaj has, we have available these books: Gita Life, Tattva, Bhakti Life, Book Bhagavata, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and many more. So without taking further time, because I'm the one who is coming in between this wonderful session with Maharaj, so won't taking any longer, would invite Maharaj for starting this wonderful session. So let's welcome Maharaj by a round of applause and chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you so much. You could have done, Prabhu.
Good afternoon, everyone. So just while we're, so it's my honor to be with all of you. And just as Rancho Krishna was feeling humbled to introduce me, I'm feeling incredibly humbled to address all of you. You are all very, very successful, very accomplished in your field. But I hope today, by hearing some of these things from the Bhagavad Gita, it will inspire you and also give you some insights as to how you can be even more successful on all levels in your life. Who here feels there is room for improvement in their life balance? Okay, very good, very good. So that is exactly what we'll be talking about today. Just to build a little bit on what Rancho Krishna Prabhu was talking about my background, I come from a Gujarati family, and my parents, they came from India to London in the 1970s. So I was born and brought up in London. I went to school there. And when I was about 15 years old, I had many questions, wondering what is the meaning of life? What is success? How can I find happiness? These questions were coming to me at a very young age. So somehow at the age of 15, I began reading many, many religious books. I read the Quran, I read the Bible, I read many, many other books, Buddhist books. And I also read the Bhagavad Gita because I thought, after all, I was born in a Hindu family, so maybe I should also look at the Bhagavad Gita. So I began reading the Gita, and ever since that time, which is over 25 years ago, the Bhagavad Gita has fascinated me. And every time I read it and study it, I get deeper and deeper insights and ideas about how to live in a much more powerful and progressive way. So today I will try to share some of the hope that will be very, very useful for you. Before we begin, I'll just say some prayers, because as we discuss spiritual knowledge, we understand that this doesn't just require an open mind and intelligence, but it requires an open heart. So you can close your eyes if you feel comfortable, and as we just invoke these auspicious prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here you can see today is our topic, less strain, more gain. I don't think there's anyone in this world who doesn't experience stress, anxiety, worries, or some kind of complexity in some way, shape, or form in their life, isn't it? We all go through many, many different things. And of course, you may think, what can you offer us? You are a sannyasi, you are a tyagi, you have turned away from the world. So So what will you be able to offer us in terms of living better in this world, since you yourself don't live in this world? Maybe, just maybe, the doubt is in your mind. Once I was giving a talk like this and someone stood up and he said, it's easy for you. You don't have any bills. You don't have family difficulties. You don't have children. You don't have all the different decisions and complexities and people to please in your life. I said to the person, well, come and join me then. Of course, I was just joking. But then I looked at this person and I said, yes, you are right. Actually, I have to humbly submit, you are right. But Arjun, he had a family. Arjun, he had complexity. Arjun, he had children. Arjun, he had a lot of stress. Arjun, he had many decisions to make in his life, and he made time. So why can't you make time? So he was happy with that. It's very, very interesting that when Krishna wants to reveal spiritual knowledge to this world, Krishna doesn't reveal it to a sannyasi. It's interesting that when Krishna wants to reveal spiritual knowledge in this world, he doesn't reveal it in a forest. But what does Krishna do when he wants to reveal spirituality to this world? He speaks to a warrior who's on a battlefield. Maybe, just maybe, sometimes your life feels like a battlefield, isn't it? Sometimes Kurukshetra is happening at home. Everyone is throwing different astras at each other. The kids are throwing at the parents, the wife is throwing at the husband, we are throwing at our boss at work. The whole life is like a battlefield. It's very, very interesting that Krishna reveals this on a battlefield, because ultimately Krishna is saying, yes, you have to live in this world. You should not try to run away, but rather you should learn how in your work, career and family life, you can bring spiritual happiness. Today, we are looking at stress, and here are some of the main causes of stress. Prabhu, can you just move this flower just to one side so that I can see? One of the main causes, these are in order. They did a survey to find out what is some of the main causes of stress in this world. And they said, oh, that is down. Okay, no, that's fine, that's fine. I look through, I have X-ray vision. One of the main causes, or what you can do is you can just turn, oh, okay. We'll pay for that. I don't know in Kuwait, I think here you're better off financially, but in the world, this can be a huge cause of anxiety. Even now, if you want to send your children to university, when I went to university 25 years ago, it was free. But now I'm looking at all of you, you will probably send your children abroad, and it's so expensive, so costly. So many financial anxieties are there, work anxieties are there, difficulties in work or uncertainty, instability. And then, of course, in the family, as many of you are parents, you know that your children are there and you have so many aspirations, you have so many hopes for them. But oftentimes your children, they have their own life they want to lead. Sometimes you think, should I let them go to London? Should I let them go to America? What will happen to our family? Will we stay together? Will they come back? So many anxieties about the family. And then we have so many problems in terms of fitting everything in, no time. Our spiritual teacher, Srila Prabhupada, he once wrote an article, No Time, the Chronic Disease of Modern Man. It's interesting, we have more and more conveniences, but we have less and less time. Isn't that amazing? This is the paradox of the world we're living in. One young girl, she wrote a poem. And you know what she said in the poem? We have taller buildings, but shorter tempers. We have wider highways, but narrower minds. We've conquered outer space, Chandrayanam, but we haven't conquered inner space. We have more possessions, but we enjoy less. We've multiplied our valuables, but we've lost our values. We have more degrees, but less common sense. And we have more conveniences, but less time. She said, in our youth, we expend our health so that we can get wealth. And then in our old age, we spend all of that wealth to try and get our health back. Isn't it amazing, the world we're living in? Sometimes you begin to think it's a little bit crazy. Nowadays, I was coming into the different residential places here, and I see in every residential building they have exercise bikes in the lobby, isn't it? Somehow in Kuwait, it's in the lobby. Exercise bikes are very interesting because 100 years ago, people used to cycle to go from one place to the other. That was the mode of transport. And then we became advanced, and then we developed motorcycles. And then we became more advanced and we developed cars. And now what we do, all day we drive around in cars from place to place, meeting from one job to the other. And then what do people do in the evening? They pay £50 to go to a gym to then ride a bicycle and go absolutely nowhere. And we think it's normal. This is normal. This is what we should do. But can you imagine if someone 100 years ago was looking at someone now riding on an exercise bike, sweating in a room and going absolutely nowhere? They would think, who is this person? It's crazy. What are they doing? So sometimes it requires us to step away from life, because sometimes we get into behaviors of doing things which are actually completely unnatural. These are some other causes of stress. Romantic relationships, isn't it? So many difficulties now in relationships. People cannot stay together. They say there is the engagement ring, and then there is the wedding ring, and then there is suffering. One time, one man, he came to Socrates. You know Socrates? He's the Greek philosopher. He said, I don't know, should I get married or not? I'm in a big dilemma. So Socrates said, definitely you should get married. He said, wow, you said with such conviction. Socrates said, look, you get married. If you have a very nice marriage, you will be very, very happy. And if you don't worry, you'll become a philosopher like me. Some of the greatest philosophers in the world are those who had difficulties in romantic relationships. It's a cause of stress because we got married to someone, we thought they were one type of person, and then we lived together. Then all the truths start coming out. Illness, injury, isn't it? Life is so unpredictable now. At any moment, my father, he refused to go to a doctor because he said, if there's something wrong with me, better I don't know. That was his philosophy. Because we're in so much anxiety now. There are so many diseases, so many illnesses. Of course, now so many people, over half the people in the world will die of cancer. All of these unpredictabilities are there in our hearts. And then traumatic events, maybe someone will pass away in our life. These things happen. So life is full of stress. Do you think you can escape any of these things? These things are unstoppable. It happen to everyone. Have you, any of you, ever been in an earthquake? Lived through an earthquake? Okay, a few of you. Can you predict when an earthquake will come? Can you predict where an earthquake will come? Can you predict what the scale of the earthquake will be? Earthquakes are completely unpredictable. But do you know everyone in their life will go through life quakes? On average, every single person in their life will experience something on multiple occasions which will shake their life up. And you don't know when it will happen, you don't know how it will happen, and you don't know what scale it will happen. But is there any subject in the world which teaches you how to deal with life quakes? In IIT, maybe some of you went, did they teach you how to deal with the loss of a loved one? No. When you went to college, did they teach you what to do if somehow tomorrow you find out you have a health crisis? When you went to university, I went to University College London, did they teach you what to do when you have a relationship breakup? No. We learn all the kind of knowledge in this world, but we don't learn the knowledge which will help us to navigate life. We don't learn the knowledge which will help us to tackle stress, anxiety, worry, and obstacles which will come to everyone in this world. Isn't that amazing? Where is the department of knowledge for that? That knowledge is given in ancient spiritual literatures. And therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse, Rajavidyam Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamutamam Pratyaksha Bhagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartumavyayam. Krishna says this knowledge is the king of all knowledge. Because if you know all other types of knowledge, but you don't know this knowledge, then ultimately you can't find peace, tranquility, equanimity of mind, and happiness. One of our spiritual teachers says, all the knowledge we learn is like many, many zeros. But when you put the one of spiritual knowledge in front of all of those zeros, then those zeros become meaningful. Otherwise, just a series of zeros. So what we're sharing with you today is knowledge. Of course, all of you come from the Hindu, the Indian background, so you've heard of the Bhagavad Gita. But I am guessing that many of us in this room have not deeply studied the Gita. We have a version of the Bhagavad Gita called Bhagavad Gita as it is. And we tell people this doesn't mean you should keep it on the shelf as it is. Some people think spiritual books are like the spare tire that you bring out of the boot when you get a puncture in your life. Quick, there's a problem. Open the Bhagavad Gita. No, we tell people the Bhagavad Gita is not the spare tire that you bring out when you have a puncture. It's not the spare wheel. It should be the steering wheel. You have to keep your hands on it all the time because it helps you to navigate through this world. If this knowledge, if this circle contains all the knowledge in the world, then there is some small part of that circle which is what you know. Agreed? All of you know certain aspects of knowledge in this world. You went to university, so many things. Then there is another part of this circle of knowledge which is what you know you don't know. Is there something that you know you don't know about? Yeah. But what do you think the biggest part of the circle of knowledge is, if these two parts are what you know and what you know you don't know? What do you think the biggest part of the circle is?
You don't know what you don't know.
Yes. What you don't know, you don't know. Now, if you are able to access knowledge here, right now, we don't even know we don't know it. But in ancient spiritual literature, there are truths, there are insights, there are practices, there are processes that can transform your life in incredible ways. But most people don't even know that they don't know, because they have never explored. And therefore, that's what we're doing today. We're taking you to the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And here on the battlefield, Krishna gives Arjuna 3 very, very basic points of how you can overcome stress in your life. Would you like to know? I hope it will be relevant for you, because we do tell people the Bhagavad Gita is timeless. Deshakalartha yuktani rittapo pashamani cha haranti smarataschitam govinda vihitani me. In an ancient verse, Arjuna says, now I am remembering the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna spoke to me, because that Bhagavad Gita, Desha, it doesn't matter which country you're in, Kala, it doesn't matter what time in the world, circumstances, it doesn't matter what situation you are in, it's always relevant. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, you can see here, and then on our book table, we have copies of the Bhagavad Gita. Here you can see this, in our version of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, you have the original Sanskrit. This is called Devanagari. But if you don't read Sanskrit, then this is the Sanskrit translated into Romanized characters. So even someone who doesn't know can chant. And then for every verse, there is a translation, word by word. Then the full translation of the verse. And then there is a commentary explaining how that verse relates to the world we're living in today. So this is incredibly, incredibly valuable knowledge. Did you know that the Bhagavad Gita is the 3rd biggest circulated book in the world? Did you know that? Anyone know what the first one is?
IKEA catalog.
IKEA catalog. Yeah, I'm sure it's right up there in the top 10 for sure. The Bible is number 1. Anyone know what number 2 is? Harry Potter. You know Harry Potter? Maybe not here so much in the West. But Bhagavad Gita, millions and millions of copies. So, the Bhagavad Gita, how many verses in the Bhagavad Gita? Yes, it's 5,000 years old and there are 700 verses in Bhagavad Gita. How many chapters? 18, very good. And how many major yoga systems does Krishna teach in the Bhagavad Gita? Anyone knows? 4? Yeah, it's 4, but there are actually 3 main yoga paths, and there are 5 topics. And the Bhagavad Gita has one goal, ultimately, which is to make us think deeply about our life. Think about who we are, why we're here, why there is suffering in the world, what's the purpose of life. Does anyone know how long it took Krishna to speak the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna? Yeah, 45 minutes, they say. Very, very short, but very, very powerful. So please, if you have not read the Bhagavad Gita, make it a point. Of course, coming from a Gujarati family, I'm good at making business deals. And so we often give people a business deal that if you read 2 verses of the Bhagavad Gita, 2 shlokas every day, you will finish the entire Gita in 1 year. So consider that. Maybe today you can go home and say, maybe I can read 2 verses a day. And let's see in 1 year how it may transform my life. That could be something you could consider. Now, when it comes to stress, Krishna gives Arjuna 3 main insights, how to overcome stress. And this is one of the major ones that Krishna gives to Arjuna. Yuktahara viharasya, yukta chestasya karmashu, yukta swapno vabodhasya, yogo bhavati dukhaha. If you want to overcome stress, try to have regulation in your life. That means eat at the same time, sleep at the same time, regularly take a holiday, try to have a day off in the week. In other words, most stress, most anxiety, the reason why most people burn out in the world today is because their lifestyle is completely unregulated. Sometimes people think you have to do all kinds of complicated things to have good health. Make sure you go to the gym for 4 hours. Make sure you take vitamin C, B12, and all these other things. Make sure you have this 2,000 pound health insurance. No, it's very simple. Just have a regulated lifestyle. If you are regulated in your habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation, Krishna says all material pains can be mitigated. Because in the world today, people don't have regulation in their lifestyle. People live completely unnatural lifestyles. You see, it's very interesting. If we follow the natural course of the world, then actually we wouldn't have problems. Like say, for example, if we never had electricity. Electricity is artificial, right? So imagine you never had electricity. What that would generally mean is that when the sun would go down, what would people do? They go to sleep. Well, what are you going to do in the dark? And if you go to sleep at night, and if you rise when the sun rises, then you're moving with the nature's course. You're much less likely to have issues. But now we became so advanced, we have electricity. So then what do people do? They stay awake all night, and then they go to sleep in the day. This is what owls do, isn't it? Bats. Living a natural lifestyle. I'm going now to US, I'm going to New York next week, and you know what they call New York, right? The city that never sleeps. And they are proud. The city that never sleeps. Srila Prabhupada, he said, if you sleep too much, you become lazy. And if you don't sleep enough, you become crazy. So people think, oh, it's a very good thing. No, it's not. So we don't have to do anything about it. Just be regulated in your life. Now you may say, but my work is not like that. There are deadlines, there are difficulties, there are unexpected things. Yes, of course. But if you prioritize it, you will find so much stress disappears. Try to have 1 day in the week when you disconnect, isn't it? According to Ayurveda, some of you know Ayurveda, isn't it? Half of your stomach should be filled with solids. 1/4 of your stomach should be filled with water. And the other 1/4 of your stomach should be filled with sweets. No, I'm joking. Other 1/4 should be filled with, You need some space. If you don't have space, how you will digest? But then ask yourself, where is the space in my life? Do I have space? Time to think, time to recuperate, time to disconnect? If you don't have that space, then know for sure very, very quickly burnout is coming because you can't sustain. So Krishna gives the first insight, how to overcome stress, regulation. Second interesting thing, Krishna says stress comes from unrealistic expectations. What does Krishna say here? Karmanyevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhur ma te sango svakarmani. Krishna says, don't be attached to the results of your activities. What happens in our life is we have very, very big expectations, very, very big aspirations. And then we set our hearts and minds on achieving certain things. And then it makes us very, very stressed because even if we achieve it, we lose our balance in the process. And then sometimes we don't achieve things and then we become very, very unhappy. Krishna says, success in this world is not determined by your results. Success is not determined by the power, the position, the percentage, or the position you are in the corporate rank. This is not success. Success means to try your best. Success means to live with nobility, to live with character. Success means to have good relationships. And then whatever is the results of your endeavors, that is determined by providence. That is not determined by you. Now in the world, they have this common conception of manifestation. Have you heard of this? People think that I can manifest anything I want. The secret, the law of attraction. Whatever I want, I can achieve. No, Krishna says, you have to try your best, but realize that whatever results come in your life are not in your control. And therefore, don't put undue pressure on yourself by having high expectations. Simply try your best and then accept whatever comes is the will of providence, and that is perfect for me. So Krishna says to Arjuna, you have a right to perform your duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. So don't be thinking you are the doer, and when results come in your life, use them in the service of others. If you get wealth, use that to serve others. If you get power and influence, use that to empower and uplift others. If you achieve some security in your life, then use that to help others. When you use your things in service of others, then those things will bring you happiness. So the second thing is expectation. Most people become stressed because of expectations. And the final thing Krishna says, amongst many other things, today I'm only giving you 3. He says the other reason why people get stressed is they are constantly competing with others. They once did a survey and they asked people, option A, you will earn $100,000. Option B, you will earn $25,000, but all of your family will earn $20,000. Most people said option B. Doesn't matter, I have half the salary, but I should be ahead of others. Because constantly what we're doing is we're comparing with others. Oh, look at them, look at their children, look at their husband, look at their house. There's an ancient story that one person, the genie came to him and said, I give you a boon that you can have anything you want. But the only deal is your neighbor will get double. He said, he didn't hear that part properly. He said, I'll take it, I'll take it. They call this keeping up with the Joneses. In India, they call it keeping up with the Patels. So he said, I want one car, BMW. And then he looked out of the window and his neighbor had two. Oh, God. And he said, I want a 5-story house. Boom. Then he looked out of the window. This guy's got 10 stories. Said, I want a beautiful wife. Then you know what he saw outside. And then you know what he said? I want to go blind in one eye. This is envy. This is competition. How it can bring you down. Now on the world, so much social media, we are seeing everyone thinking, why my life is not like this? Why my life is not like this? Constantly comparing. And this brings so much stress. But what does Krishna say here? Shreyan swadharma viguna paradharmat svanustitat. Krishna says everyone has their own path in life. So don't try to imitate someone else's life. Einstein, he said everyone is a genius. But if you convince a fish that it has to climb a tree, it will live its whole life thinking it's a failure. So we should not unnecessarily try to copy someone else's life. Each of us must live our own life. Even all of you as parents, be very careful with your children to let them also live their journey. Don't put too much of your plans on them. Once there was a mother and father, and they were debating. He should be a lawyer. He said, no, he should be an accountant. He said, no, lawyer, accountant, lawyer, accountant. So they went to the court. So the judge was listening to them. Man was saying, lawyer. She was saying, accountant, lawyer, accountant. Then the judge looked at them and said, but why don't you just ask him? What does he want to be when he grows up? And then they both looked at the judge and said, but he isn't even born yet. Isn't it amazing? Before the child is even born, already you have all your expectations on them. When I was young, the saying was, there are only 3 options in life: doctor, lawyer, failure. I said, I'm sure there's more options than that. No, doctor, lawyer, or failure. Not that it's good to be a doctor and a lawyer, but everyone has to find their own dharma, their own purpose. So much of difficulty comes in the world today because we are competing and comparing with other people. And so what Krishna says in the Gita is competition. That is a sure way to become stressed out. So like this, can you begin to see how practical Bhagavad Gita is? Sometimes people say, no, I will only read the Bhagavad Gita when I'm old. Because then you'll begin thinking about the next life. When you're 80 years old, then you're thinking, my God, Vaikuntha, when is the spiritual world coming? So people think you only read this book when you're old. But the Bhagavad Gita is not just about helping you in the afterlife. The Bhagavad Gita is meant to empower you to live the most progressive here life. And so we're sharing with people that all the questions that Arjuna asks in the Bhagavad Gita are the questions that people will ask at some point in their life. Therefore, diagnosis is 90% of the cure, because Arjun in the Bhagavad Gita has already recognized all the problems that people are going to have. And therefore, he's already asked the best questions to Krishna. Krishna has given all the answers. These are some of the things that Arjun asks Krishna. Because we're short of time, I won't go through everything. But he asked Krishna, what is my purpose? Everyone should know, what is my purpose in life? If you don't know your purpose, your why, then how will you know what is the best way to live? Then Arjun asked Krishna, what is success? Sometimes we have a vision of what success is. But maybe that vision of success was not something that we decided. Maybe that vision of success is something that society told us, this is success. And we are following that. The worst type of success is to fulfill all of your goals and then realize that they were someone else's goals. That's what most people do. That's why people become rich. They become famous. They become established in their career. They achieve everything they set out to achieve. And then later on they think, I'm not happy. Because did you take time to ask yourself, what is real success? Arjun asked Krishna, what type of qualities should I develop in order to maximize my life in this world? Krishna gives many, many beautiful qualities. Abhayam sattvasam sudhir jnana yogyam yavastiti dhanam namascha yagyascha svadhyaya stapa arjavam. Very, very beautiful. Krishna explains the qualities of highly effective people. What about the mind? Any of you have problems with the mind? Once I was driving on the road and there was a car, and in the back it said, do not disturb. Already disturbed. Because everyone is disturbed. The mind is like a monkey, isn't it? The mind is always coming with so much negativity, so much limitation, so much unhelpful narrative. So Krishna teaches Arjuna how to deal with the mind. Because remember, we're conquering outer space. Have you conquered your own mind? If you haven't conquered your mind, how you will experience happiness? And then Arjuna asked Krishna about temptation. Do we ever give in to temptation? Sometimes we know what we should do, but we keep doing the wrong thing. We know we shouldn't have that extra bowl of paneer sabji, but today it's okay. Or we know I should not smoke. It's interesting, smoking is very interesting. Over the years, the sign on the cigarette packet has become more and more severe. In the 1970s, on the cigarette packet, it said, smoking may damage your health. In the 80s, the sign was, smoking damages your health. In the 2000s, the message was, smoking seriously damages your health. And now the message is, smoking kills. The amazing thing is, the number of cigarette sales are higher than ever. The message is getting louder and louder, but people are becoming more and more deaf. Don't give up what you want most for what feels good now. If you can live by this mantra, your life will be amazing. But most people can't because they give in to temptation. So Arjuna is asking Krishna, why is it that I keep doing the wrong thing even when I know the right thing to do? Isn't it an amazing question? Look at these questions. This is how to live the best life. This is why Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, we tell people, if you want a new idea, go to an old book. There's nothing new. There's nothing new out there. They may package it and they may show it in so many different ways. There's nothing new. Krishna already talked about everything. But because we didn't read that book, then we read the modern books, we think, wow, amazing. But we didn't realize it's all there in the Bhagavad Gita. But who took the time to study it? No, that's an old book. That was for that generation, not for this generation. In this generation, we read modern books. In this generation, we read scientific books. In this generation, we read rational, logical books. No. It's all there. It's already talked about. And so, self-development and spiritual development go hand in hand. And so if you want to know how to become the best version of yourself and find happiness and prosperity on all levels, then the Bhagavad Gita is there. So thank you so much. We are just sharing some ideas with you here in this short time. Please, if you don't have a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, then be sure to pick one up. We also have some other books on the Gita. So I thank you for your attention. Thank you very much. Yeah, so we have some time, maybe, yes, Svayam. Thank you for your introduction and your energy. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mesmerized. Absolutely breathtaking. How was it? What do you think?
Any questions? For any questions?
Only talking to me. And this is what I'm going through every single day. Day after day, day after day. Isn't it? What do you think? How many of you really felt that your Maharaj is talking to you all? Fantastic. Fabulous. Yes, absolutely. Let's start. Come on. Maharaj comes all the way from UK to give us this wisdom. Isn't it amazing? In order for us to move and connect more with Maharaj, I believe this is the best time for us to ask that question, which is always the back of our mind. And today is the time where it has just popped up. Yes, I really want to clarify. So I would request you humbly, this is the best time if you can just kindly ask that question. I'm going to pass on the mic. Please, thank you. Great. So we'll start with the Matajis or ladies first. Oh, Prabhu, are you ready? So if you have any question, you can just hand and we can do the needful. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
One question is, that was in relation that that's a third largest collected book, but how come you find that it is not sufficient?
It's not read sufficiently. Yes. Of course, the Bhagavad Gita has to be read in a certain way. Otherwise, it will remain a mystery. In the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Krishna says that if you want to learn the spiritual knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, you can read it, but you have to learn it from a teacher. Therefore, most people open the Bhagavad Gita and they become very confused. They become very disenthused because they feel, I don't connect to it, I don't understand it, I don't see its relevance to my life. But the thing is, you have to read the Bhagavad Gita in the company of people who have understood the Gita and are living the Gita. When you do that, then you will actually uncover all the jewels that are available in the Bhagavad Gita. When I was 15, as I mentioned to you, I started reading the Gita. After 1 year of reading the Gita, I decided to go to the temple and listen to one class. And after coming out of that class, I was super inspired and super of that class than in 1 year of reading. Therefore, what we've created in Kuwait, what we've created in the local areas are events where people can come, where you can learn about the Bhagavad Gita, where you can learn, okay, I have stress in my life. What does the Bhagavad Gita have to say about that? I have problems in my relationships. What does the Bhagavad Gita have to say about that? I have decisions to make in my life. How does the Gita advise me to make good decisions? All of this is available, but it must be understood with the company of those who are living the Bhagavad Gita. Is that okay? So later on, we will share with you information about other events and programs where you can learn like that.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Prabhu. We have one more question over here, and after that, we have another question. So please keep your questions ready. I will be coming close to your table. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. In Bhagavad Gita, at many places, this comes again. Lord Krishna says to Arjuna that you are not the doer.
Yes.
So this is a very conflicting statement. Like
we are doing so many things. Yeah. So we are endeavoring and we are seeing the results of it. So what does it mean? Very good question. Thank you so much. Actually, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that there are 3 doers. The first doer is us, the soul. The second doer is Krishna, the super soul, the Paramatma. And the third doer is the material nature. Now, I give you an example to clarify this. Say now we are in this building. Before this building, there was nothing here. So say I was one person and I said, there should be a building here. That was the initial desire. And then what I did is I went to the government and I applied for planning permission. And then the government said, yes, there can be a building here. They are the second doer. And then what happened is the construction firm came in and they built the building. They are the third doer. So which one is the doer? In one sense, all of them. Because they all had a part to play. So us as the soul, we are the doer because we have desires, we make efforts, we make an endeavor, and therefore we try. So in one sense, we are the doer. But the reason Krishna says we're not the doer is because we are not the only doer. Many, many people want to be in India's cricket team. How many young kids in India are trying out to become the next? I keep saying Sachin Tendulkar, but I'm sure there are more. Yeah, Dhoni or whoever it is. How many of them want to become the next cricket star? But out of thousands of them, maybe one will make it. That means they can all try, but they are not all the doers because they don't have control. Only for a few of them, the sanctioning will come from God. Okay, you can do it. For so many people try to come to become wealthy, but for some people it never happens. Why? Because we are not the only doer. So your question is very good. Yes, we are the doer, but we are not the only doer. Therefore, sometimes Krishna will say, you are the doer, and sometimes Krishna will say, Kartaham iti manyate. If you think you're the doer, you are foolish. Krishna will say both things. Does it make sense? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much for your enlightened
I have a question.
information that you shared with us. We are very much thankful to you for all the you from UK and to enlighten us. I have two questions. One question that you have shared with the slides, in which you mentioned the competition. Instruction in the course of performing one's own duties better than engaging in other shows. Any enlightenment that point. Number two.
I just answer that and then, because I'll forget otherwise, and then you can ask second question. So what does it mean when Krishna says, do your own duty perfectly rather than, even imperfectly, rather than doing someone else's duty perfectly? What does Krishna mean by this? It means that all of us have a very, very specific nature. In Sanskrit, this is called Svabhav. Each of us have a certain nature. We have certain qualities. We have certain talents and abilities. And so what Krishna is saying is that if you engage in your own dharma, even if sometimes there are obstacles, in the long term, it will always work out. You'll feel satisfied and you'll be able to make your greatest contribution. But if you do someone else's dharma, then even in the short term, if you are able to be successful, in the long term, you will end up unhappy, because that's not what you're supposed to be doing in this life, isn't it? Like, say, this is why I was telling you about kids, because sometimes we project desires on our children. And then what happens is the child may be able to be successful in that thing for 5 years, for 10 years, but eventually the child will feel dissatisfied if that's not their dharma. Does that make sense? And even if sometimes when you're pursuing your own dharma, if there is difficulty, if there is obstacle, you still carry on. Because it's your dharma, eventually it will work out. In the Manusmriti, there's a very famous verse, Dharma Rakshita Rakshita. If you protect your dharma, then your dharma will protect you. Therefore, most people are living out of their dharma because they don't understand. And how will you understand what is your dharma unless you read Dharma Shastra? That's why scripture is there to help us understand what am I meant to be doing. Does that make sense?
Thank you. The other question I would like to ask that we all wake up at 4:30 in the morning and we do a lot of daily course, going to job, their family, kids.
Wow, everyone wakes up at 4 o'clock? Impressive.
The point is that then job, kids, family,
Yes,
personal commitment, and then spiritual. How do you balance things like? So there are a lot of things like in this modern world. So giving some time to the YouTube, WhatsApp, and whatever, and also giving what exactly we need to get distracted from various sources of business information.
Don't be
That
afraid.
also makes sense to know to update ourselves with the knowledge. So can you give some examples that throw some your divine knowledge how to prioritize the things? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. Imagine here is imagine this is a cup. And in this cup, I want you to fit a big stone, some small stones, some sand, and some water. Now imagine if someone puts the water in first, and then tries to put the sand, and then the pebbles, and then squeeze the big pebble in. Will it work? What you have to do is put the big pebble in first, then you put the pebble around it, then you put the sand in the gaps, and then if you pour in the water, it will naturally absorb. And then in that way, you fit everything in. The key to time management in the world is that you have to do first things first.
Tomorrow is Sunday.
Therefore, in spiritual culture, what happens is the first thing in the morning, you don't do anything of this world. The first thing you do in the morning is you meditate, you study wisdom, and you remember what is the goal of life, why am I here in the first place? Then when you start with that kind of orientation, then in the rest of the day, you will understand where to spend time on what. But the big problem in the world today is that people don't spend this time in the morning. They wake up and the first thing they do is run out of the house and go to work. And they're not thinking at the beginning of the day. So therefore, we encourage people that first spend some time in the beginning of the day. In Sanskrit, we call this Brahma Muhurta. You see, even in the world now today, there is a very, very famous book, and it's called the 5 a.m. Club, isn't it? So I told you, if you want a new idea, go to an old book. They call it the 5 a.m. Club. Krishna talked about it thousands of years ago, Brahma Muhurta. And if you spend that time in the morning orientating yourself, then in the day you will realize certain activities are useless. Certain activities don't need to be spent so much time on. This is what will bring me happiness. Most of the problem in the world is that we are just engaging in useless activities that don't bring us much. The problem is not that we don't have enough time. The problem is that we've got too many things on our to-do list which don't need to be there. That's the problem. Once someone sent me a message, get off Facebook and get your face into a book. I was like, okay. So we're spending so much time on social media, on useless things, just killing time with no much benefit. So if you spend some time in the morning, then you will understand. I hope that helps.
Maharaj. So I have a question. In various spheres of life, like throughout this journey of our life, we have multiple goals. Like from the school time, we have a goal that we need to score this stage, and in the career stage, we have a goal that we need to reach a certain position. But how do we understand what is the purpose of our life? When will we get that enlightenment that this is the purpose that I am giving my life for? So how do we understand the purpose of life? It's critical to understand the reason for our life, but when do we know that this is the actual purpose of my life?
Thank you so much. You will understand what is the ultimate purpose of your life when you are desirous to understand. In the Christian tradition, they say, seek and ye shall find. But how many of us are considering what is the ultimate purpose of our life? We are not. We are just going along with what the world told us is the purpose of life. Did you know that if someone tells a lie long enough, then that lie becomes a truth? Did you know that if enough people accept that so-called truth, then that truth becomes a culture? And did you know that if that culture is transmitted from one generation to another, it becomes a tradition? And then what happens is we're born into a tradition, so-called tradition, which is based on a so-called culture, which is based on a so-called truth, which is actually a lie. But how many people have taken the time to challenge those lies? We don't. We just go along with the world. So if you want to understand what is purpose, then you have to seek, you have to explore, you have to read books like the Bhagavad Gita, because that will help you to understand what you don't know, you don't know. So most people in this, they are just trying to fit into the world. They are just trying to meet all the goals that the world has said is success. But remember, the worst type of success is when you achieve all of your goals and then realize they were someone else's goals. So take time. First, we must question, who am I? Imagine you got onto a train and you were sitting across from someone, and you wanted to be friendly. So you said to them, where did you just come from? And they look at you and say, I don't know. And then you think like, okay. Then you say, where are you going? And they say, I don't know. You think like, okay. And then you ask them like, what are you doing here on the train? After some time, you're going to think like, call the doctors or call the police or someone. Like, what is this? They don't know where they came from. They don't know where they're going. They don't know why they're here. But what about us? Why were we born in this world? I don't know. What happens after this life? I don't know. Well, why are you here in this world? What's the purpose? I don't know. But one thing I know is that I need money. No, we're not saying don't have money. We're not saying don't have a family. We're not saying don't be successful in this world. But understand what's the purpose. But most people don't. Most people just go along in life and then they spend 100 years in this world and then they go. And then Krishna says they have to come back all over again. Because maybe in the next life they'll ask the question. So the Bhagavad Gita says that if you don't ask the question now, don't worry, there's always the next life. Someone said, I don't have time. I said, maybe in the next life there'll be time. So please be a searcher, be inquisitive. Krishna says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kashkit yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kashkiman deveti talvata. Krishna says, out of thousands of people in this world, maybe one will begin to inquire. And out of those who are inquiring, maybe one will find the answers. So we have to become that inquisitive person. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thanks very much for your wonderful insights relating Bhagavad Gita and our daily lives. My question is regarding stress. Most of the stress normally comes through the toxic relationships, whether it will be at workplace or mostly at the family. So how to deal with the toxic relationships and particularly with some particular person? So could you please give some insight on this?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Toxic relationships are one of the biggest difficulties in the world today. Sometimes we are living with someone and the relationship is so toxic that we are bringing each other down. But still people do not move away. They do not give each other space. So the first thing that's required is when one understands that this relationship is toxic, the first very, very important thing is to give some breathing space, to create some distance. It's not that a toxic relationship means the end of the relationship. But sometimes it just means you need some space. And in that break from each other, then something changes so that when you come back together, it's more progressive. So if you are facing a toxic relationship, that's the first thing you can do, is just give it a break, give it some time.
After this,
Have you ever noticed sometimes something is not working, some appliance, and then all you have to do is take the plug out, turn it off, and then put the plug in again, and somehow magically it starts working again. Sometimes if you just disconnect something, then it will work, but it needs some disconnection time. So that's the first thing in toxic relationships. Second thing is why relationships remain toxic in the world today is that people don't speak to each other. People don't communicate. People don't try to share with each other what they are feeling, and therefore there's no resolution. If you don't communicate, then how you can find solutions?
how much time will it take?
They say so many of the problems in the world would be solved if instead of speaking about each other, we spoke to each other. We have to communicate. Without communication, there's no resolution. And then the third thing is we have to realize that some relationships are relationships we have to let go of. It may come to a point in our life when we realize this relationship is not serving anyone. But in today's day and age, people cannot let go. You know how they used to catch monkeys many years ago? What they used to do is put the banana inside the cage. And the bars were small enough for the monkey to put their hand through and catch the banana. But once the monkey had the banana in its hand like this as a fist, then it can't come out. And then the person comes to capture the monkey. But you think, what's the problem? Just let the banana go and run. You can get out. But no, I cannot let go of the banana. Anything but the banana. And then that banana leads to your death. Because we don't know in this world how to let go. You see? Once a teacher lifted up a cup which was half full of water, and he said to the students, how heavy is this cup? So someone said 2 ounces, someone said 4 ounces, someone said 10 ounces. She said, you're all wrong. This cup is as heavy as how long you hold it for.
We have little far.
So in our lives, some of us may have this amount of toxic relationships. Some of us may have this amount of toxic relationships. But what makes it heavy is not the relationships, but it's how long we hold on to them. Just let it go. You have to let go. It's difficult, but you have to let go. Otherwise, it's like you are holding something that is burning you. So therefore, yes, detachment is required. These are some thoughts. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Actually, my question is how to control our mind. Because I'm chanting for 3 years and it's enriched my life so much. But still, at the time of chanting, mind is so strong. It's running here, there. What is the best way? We have to focus on the listening, on the breath, on the chanting. We have to focus more to improve this thing more and more.
Thank you so much. Thank you. First thing is if you chant in the morning, isn't it? Just like in Kuwait, if you try to drive the car at 4 o'clock in the morning into the town, then you go straight through. But if you try to drive the car at 9 o'clock, good luck. Too many traffic jams. So you cannot, chanting after 8, 9 o'clock in the morning becomes very difficult because there's traffic jams. Too many thoughts, too many emails, WhatsApp notifications. The whole world starts moving. Then it's difficult to disconnect. So first thing is try to chant in the morning. Second thing is try to chant in a nice environment, in a quiet place, in a fresh place, with some devotional atmosphere. The environment plays a big effect. Third thing is try to also read about Krishna, right? Try to also read about spiritual knowledge so that when you meditate on Krishna's name, then it will become more meaningful. Krishna is not just a name, but Krishna is a person. And when you meditate with that knowledge of Krishna, then you will be able to meditate in a deeper way. So that's the third thing. And then the fourth thing is, you just have to keep doing it. Because what happens over time, what does Krishna say to Arjun? Yato yato nischalati manaschanchalamasstiram tatastato niyam yetad atmanyeva vasamnayet. Krishna says, from wherever the mind wanders, just keep bringing it back. Keep bringing it back. I'll just say one final thing. When a plane goes from one airport to another, say we're going from Kuwait to London, then what happens is the pilot has a flight path, isn't it? Did you know that on any given journey, the plane is only on the flight path for 30% of the journey? Most of the time, the plane is off the flight path. But after 7-8 hours, the plane reaches its destination. Why? Because the pilot is always trying to come back, refocus, come back to the flight path. The perfection in your meditation is not to be on the flight path, because practically no one will be able to do it, because chanchalam, the mind is too unsteady. But what you can do is every time you know your mind is wandering, Atmanyeva, keep bringing it back to the flight path. And if you do that, by the end of this life, you will reach your destination. I don't know how we're doing in time. Shall we finish? I think we should finish there. We had okay, last question.
Hare Krishna. I just had a follow-up to a comment for the gentleman, the friend you had commented. Lord Krishna saying that one can be the doer and can also be non-doer at the same time. And then you said about the cricketer, all sports persons trying to achieve the same goal. I just want to ask, so since we know that not everybody trying to achieve the same goal will achieve it. How does one know that we need to, after a certain amount of attempts and achieving failure, even after giving
only
the best,
one
how do we decide that maybe
I should do something else.
yes, when do we switch? Is it something from an outside negative, or maybe something that's blocking us, or something from a person that is to decide we need to change goals or make a different approach?
Wow, very beautiful question. It's the $64 million question. How do you know when to keep trying? And how do you know when you should try something else?
Good question.
There are three things in our control: intention, attention, and action. In anything you're trying to achieve in this world, if you have the right intention, means you've invested your heart. If you have the right attention, means you've given the right focus of mind and intelligence. and action, if you give the best of your physical endeavor and efforts, once you've given the totality of your intention, attention, and action, then you know there's nothing more I can give. And therefore, in any endeavor, one should ask themselves, have I given the best of my intention? Have I given the best of my attention? And have I given the best of my action and endeavor? Have I given the best of my heart, my mind, and my physical endeavor in doing this or trying to achieve this thing? If one does that and the result doesn't come according to their estimation, then they may decide that perhaps there is something they need to divert their attention to or move their attention to. The other thing to realize is that sometimes, even if you invest all of those things and you don't get the result, maybe that is what is destined for our life. And we can be happy with that. We think happiness comes from achievement. But sometimes that achievement is not what we're destined to achieve in this life. Maybe we're meant to achieve something a little seemingly lower. But something seemingly lower can give us a higher quality of life.
Most interested, no?
You know, like some people, they win the lottery, isn't it? And what's the net result of it? It spoils their life. One Christian saint lady, her name is Avila, Teresa of Avila. She says, more tears were shed from prayers that were answered than from prayers that were unanswered. Because often when we go to God, we're asking for the wrong things. Give me a house by the sea, a color TV, a 50 million gigabyte MP3, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. We have a specific idea of what is happiness. But maybe our idea of happiness will cause us more difficulty and therefore divinity. So it's a very complex world. So like this, we have to be more and more connected to the voice of divinity, to the voice of God. And that comes through meditation. And then naturally, all of these, all of this understanding about what decisions to make will come more naturally. I hope that helps in some way. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your, yes.
One last question.
Oh, one last question? Okay.
Namaskar. The biggest form of stress that I have is I have an 8-year-old and I can't control the amount of exposure that he is going to get. So it's not like my childhood. So much exposure over there. So when I see from now on, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have outside, so many things. As a father, that keeps me stressed, and the only two way of mitigation right now I'm doing is that I just trying to teach me something on those lines, that. So these are the only two ways that I'm handling. But I don't know whether that's right.
Thank you so much. That's such a beautiful question. Chanakya Pandit, he says, when you are bringing up children, there are 3 aspects. He says, in the first years of the child's life, you just have to give them a lot of love. Just a lot of love. And then he said, in the next stage of the child's life, you have to give them discipline. You have to try to teach them what is right, what is wrong, what are the principles that they should try to live by. And then you know what he says after that? He says after that you have to give friendship and independence. You know, you will not try as hard as you want you will not be able to control the exposure of your child to the things of this world today. We live in the age where there are weapons of mass distraction. People in the world are worried about weapons of mass destruction. That's definitely there. But the other weapons are weapons of mass distraction. Now, kids at 15 years old, 16 years old, they're all on their devices and they know how to use it better than us. They can access anything. They can be exposed to anything. So how will we control it? You can't control it. Even Buddha, Buddha, his father thought the same thing. He thought, I will not allow Buddha to be exposed to the world. So for Buddha's whole life, he was in the compound of the palace. And then you know what happened, right? One day Buddha, he came out of the palace. And when he came out of the palace, he saw four things. First, he saw a sick person. Then he saw an old person. Then he saw a dead person. And then he saw a yogi. Buddha had never seen this in his whole life because his father had been very careful. I don't want to expose him to all of this. But then Buddha saw all of it. And then he realized, I will also become old. I will also become sick. I will also die. Therefore, let me become like the fourth guy. And that's when he went, Bodh Gaya. So, you cannot control, they will be exposed to things, but what you can do is try to give them the deep spiritual principles to understand how to live their life. We can't make their decisions for them. What does Krishna say to Arjuna at the end of the Bhagavad Gita? Iti te jnanamakyatam uyat guyataramaya vimrashe tadashe shena yathechati tatha kuru. Krishna says to Arjuna, I've given you all the knowledge. Now you think deeply. Yata ichha tatha kuru. And then you do what you want to do. Even Krishna doesn't force Arjuna. He says, I've given the knowledge, now it's your free will. The same with children. But we have to question ourselves, are we giving them the knowledge? Are we giving them the spiritual principles? Are we giving them the timeless wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita? Oftentimes what happens in our temple in London is that the parents on Sunday, they bring the kids for the Krishna club, we call it. But what happens is they bring the kids for the 9 o'clock class, they drop the kids off, and then they leave. They go to the cinema, the golf course, the shopping mall, to the restaurant, and then they come back to pick them up. Yeah, Bhagavad Gita is good for them. They need to learn Bhagavad Gita. But did you learn Bhagavad Gita? You can't give what you don't have. You see, one time, one mother, she brought her child to Gandhi. And she said, tell him to stop eating so many sweets. So Gandhi said, come back in 2 weeks. So they came back in 2 weeks. She said, tell him to stop. Gandhi said, stop eating so many sweets. So she said, why you didn't just tell him 2 weeks ago? He said, 2 weeks ago I was eating 2 weeks Yad yad acharati Shreshthas. Kids will not follow what you say, they will follow what you do. So therefore we have to also ideal examples, and then definitely children will flourish. I hope that helps. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Maharaj. How was it? In my welcome speech, I did mention before and after experience. Once you leave from here, you will definitely find yourself different. Was I correct? Only I can see one Prabhu and some other Prabhu. So now, I would not like to have this as just want to clarify something. It was not once that we got this Eureka! Wow, let's get all the people on the board and we can have them over here and then give them a very good experience and full stop. No. Epic is doing a lot of wonderful activities in Kuwait. Just wanted to explain a few of them. I'm sure you all must have got this. This has all the schedules of different programs that have been conducted all over Kuwait by wonderful devotees that we have around. And I'm sure if you are staying in Mangaf or if you're staying in Abu Alifa or if you're staying in any part of Kuwait, you have the location and you also have the email addresses in case if you really want to connect with the devotees and the Yatra leaders, requesting you all to please contact the